TikTok showed me what entrepreneurship was. Oh my God, there's a whole nother world. And I saw people making more money than I could imagine making in a year, in a month.
What was the largest amount of money that you guys were offered but turned down?
Crypto. In the early days, we were offered like for one post. It was like a golden opportunity for Callum and I. Like, I want to help other people wake up like I had just started to wake up. But there's a million ways to make money, especially once you have skills. Like Simon's biggest business video on YouTube, it's the biggest, if not one of the biggest business videos, being the people that did that for free. The opportunities that attracts. Randomly was on a flight with Richard, was able to pitch to him what we're doing and the idea of collaborating and everything we said we'd do on the flight, we ended up making happen.
What lessons have you learned about content?
Find a way for it to be bigger than you, and ideally long term not to rely on you. If we do everything right, like this will be $1 billion ecosystem.
Jack, how are you, mate?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm very, very well, very well.
Good. Thanks for having me.
How did you go from night shifts in Sainsbury's to the CEO behind one of the biggest personal brands on the globe and over 20 million followers?
Good question. A lot of luck, to be honest with you.
Fluke the whole thing.
Yeah, a lot of luck. And I guess meeting the right people. So I guess a whistle-stop tour of the story. So I was working at Sainsbury's and I was at uni at the same time. And I hated it, man. I hated both of them. Like, uni was teaching me nothing. It's funny because, at uni, like only the first year doesn't count, only the second and third year count. So I attended first year before I found out about entrepreneurship. And then after I found out about entrepreneurship, second and third year, I never attended. So I had 0% attendance. I actually kept it going just to get the student loan to fund my business. But yeah, uni was giving me nothing. I was working at Sainsbury's to make a living. And again, like I was around so many hardworking people and I was just like, I was like, is there something wrong with me? I'm like, I can't work hard at this. And I felt bad, but I'm like, I just really struggled to motivate myself to like do anything. So I was like, I have to do something. I have to do something different. And, I guess always had been motivated from a young age, seeing like financial struggles and stuff with my family. Like I never want to be in that position. So as soon as TikTok showed me what entrepreneurship was, it was literally TikTok. Like I've been scrolling in lockdown and suddenly I started seeing self-development content about finance and stocks and all that stuff. I was like, oh my God, there's a whole nother world. And I saw people making more money than I could imagine making in a year, in a month online. And I was like, okay, I have to find out how to do this. So I guess that's pretty much how it started, just like self-education in the online space. I paid $3,000 for a mentor to teach me basically how to run a marketing agency. And that $3,000 was my mum's savings that she'd saved up to give to me when I was 18. So again, putting that money in, like I spent $3,000 on many things since and like it not having an effect, but because it was hers, I was like, I have to make this work. Like I will not lose or waste my mum's money. So I kind of invested in learning and then, I thought I'll start a social media marketing agency. I'll do paid ads was what I was going to do to start with. And yeah, it took me 30 sales calls to sign my first client. So a lot of rejection, but that pain of like wanting a different life and not wanting to let my mum down and hating Sainsbury's in uni was what kind of kept me going. And yeah, I guess long story short in that regard, like signed my first client, had no idea how to run paid ads. So luckily I'd made another friend through TikTok called Jack, who runs our paid ads today, actually. He ran my clients' paid ads for me because I didn't know how to do it. And then I realized I'm actually quite good at writing. I pivoted into email marketing and copywriting because it was a lot more natural for me to pick up rather than like ads was a bit too analytical for me. And then I found my groove and signed a few clients and started making enough money to live. And that was kind of like my induction into the world of entrepreneurship. But then, I guess from there, the reason I say luck is like I met Callum, our other co-founder, through TikTok as well. He had a podcast on self-development and I was sharing my journey of like building an agency on social media, and he invited me on his podcast. And then around the same time, Simon had started doing like talking head TikToks, giving like business advice. He went on Callum's podcast as well. And then me and Callum became friends following the podcast. He lived in Sussex and I was looking to move down to the coast because I missed the seaside and I was living in London. And then, we met, we like became friends and thought, we'll merge our skill sets. Him as an editor, he was editing for like Diver CEO before. We'll merge our skill sets of like you being an editor, me being a copywriter, marketer, and we'll help people do content together. It's funny, the business idea we had was like, we'll help people grow through doing a podcast and clipping it up and stuff like that. That was the idea. But then Simon was like to Callum, I want to help with my YouTube channel. And that was obviously like too good of an opportunity for Callum to turn down. And Callum was like, sure, but I want Jack involved. And Simon was like, we don't really need another person, surely. Like, why? And Callum was like, no, I'll do it, but like, I need Jack involved. So I thank Callum to this day for like dragging me in.
Callum's the boy.
Literally. And then, Simon basically became our first client. But, you know, although Simon's scale was nowhere near what it is today back then, the mission was the same. You know, the purpose was the same. And of course, you know, he'd already built a company, sold it, all of that stuff. So like, it was like a golden opportunity for Callum and I, like, you know, get mentored by someone that's, you know, done so much incredible stuff and has an incredible mission, and then build it alongside him. So it kind of became from a client to full time to then, you know, through that first year, we saw a decent amount of success, and Simon was like, look, this is a lot bigger than me. It will be a lot bigger than me. Would love to co-found it with you guys and, you know, build an ecosystem that fixes the education system and, you know, helps people be free. Which was as close as I could find to what my personal purpose was anyway. I always said, you know, I want to help other people wake up like I had just started to wake up. So then, yeah, that's pretty much like the story. And from then it's just been like heads down, trying to make the biggest impact we can and build sustainable companies along the way for the last 4 years or so now. So like you said, 6,000 followers Simon had on Instagram when we met him, to now 20 million followers across everything today. Again, thanks to his mission, the team we've built and all of that. 45 team members now across everything. But it feels like we're just getting started, because the mission of helping people around the world be free and follow their dream is huge. It's almost too huge to imagine. There's billions of people that need help. So it's like, okay, how do we build companies and media and everything that can have that impact at scale? So that's kind of what we're embarking on now with the media machine and the purpose behind us.
So what was that conversation that the three of you initially had? Because obviously you and Callum go into this going, cool, he's a client, we're going to build our own thing. He sort of Una reverses you going, no, we're going to build something as a trio. Yeah, good question. I think it was kind of natural, to be honest. Like, Simon wasn't saying like, you know, don't take on any other work or anything like that, because he was getting to know us, we were getting to know them, to know him. But I think like when you start to see how someone like Simon operates and the potential scale of something, a mission like that, it's kind of hard to imagine doing anything else. So like, you know, I had a couple of other clients that like I slowly started to wind things down with. I think Callum did the same. I can't remember exactly. But it's really funny. Like Callum and I, even still, we were like, because we were still kind of young and naive, there were other projects that really tempted us, and we like so nearly went through with a couple of them. And I remember sitting down with Simon and being like, I would think you're doing this thing. And he was basically just like, you know, do you want to do that and make a bit of money, or do you want to change the world? I'm paraphrasing, but that's more or less what he said.
I believe that.
and honestly, he was so right. Like, there's a million ways to make money, especially once you have skills. Like, there are so many ways to make more money than you probably know what to do with, or like on a monthly basis. But like, I'm in the business of trying to genuinely affect the course of humanity, even if it's only in a small way, if we can, and you know, build something fun with a big group of people that can have a big impact together. And you don't get that sort of impact by doing like a load of different things or chasing the money. You have to delay gratification. You have to think purpose first. You have to think big, and also be willing to do things that people haven't done before, which is kind of constantly what we've had along this journey as well. Like, you know, the core mission from the start was never charge people for help. And I'm like, okay, how are we going to make everything free and make money and not be a charity? Kind of hurt my head to start with, right? But then it's like, okay, once you're big enough audience, you can get sponsorships, or, you know, you can launch your own products, or you can launch affiliate, or like whatever it is. There's a million and one ways. And now, you know, we're lucky enough to make a decent amount of profit to reinvest back into growth without ever having to charge people for help. But in the early days, especially when there's not much traction there, it's a bit of a head fuck. Like, how do you do that? But it's thinking that big that allows you to shoot that big.
I think from speaking to you and when we spoke to Simon as well, it's clear that purpose is behind absolutely everything you guys have done. And do you think that's actually a large part of why his personal brand has blown up so much? The name Simon Squibb now, 90% of people that are similar age to us or from a Western culture will know who that is in some way, shape, or form. Do you think the purpose that's been there from the very start and been the main reason is actually why that's grown so quick?
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's everything, because I guess a couple of main reasons. Firstly, people can get behind it. Like, people, no matter who it is, whether it's the young person that relates or whether it's the older successful person that agrees with it and wants to get on board, like, it feels like a mission and people want to get behind it. And it's genuine as well. Like, hopefully you guys spending time with us, like, you can see that it's genuine. Like, we really just we want people to help themselves to be free. And it's infectious. So that's probably the main thing. But also, by thinking like that, it allows you to, again, like, delay gratification, put money to the side a little bit. It still has to be core to any sort of business, right? You need to be able to do it sustainably, but it's like, you don't chase the bag. You are able to delay that gratification and build something genuinely meaningful for the people you're trying to serve. And because we've done that consistently over 4 years now as a three, but Simon had also been doing it, a couple of years prior to that as well. Like, you just constantly build that trust and goodwill with the people that watch, where, they don't see your first video, think you're cool, and then instantly get sold a course or like whatever it is. So because we're able to do that, I think, again, it puts us into like a slightly different like league, I guess, to most people, because we were able to just think a lot bigger and go a lot further without like asking for things from the audience.
Probably inadvertently makes you more money as well. I mean, almost definitely you would have made more money because you've been not focusing on the money.
Long term, 1,000%. Short term, if we wanted to make $1 million, like Simon's biggest business video on YouTube is called 30 Years of Business Knowledge in 2 hours, 26 minutes. That has 15 million views on YouTube. It's the biggest, if not one of the biggest business videos on YouTube. And we could have very easily chop that up, put it into modules and sold it as a course and probably made multi millions just from that, right? But if we had done that, 15 million people wouldn't have got that help for free, and a lot of them can't afford it. And secondly, it wouldn't have given us the, I guess, respect and clout of being the people that did that for free, that have that big of a video, and the opportunities that attracts. Whether it was like, remember the first time we came to Dubai was just after that video dropped. So we were able to get meetings with, or podcasts with, all the biggest names out here, because like suddenly we were sort of respected. And so yeah, you're right. I mean, like, short term, if we wanted to make money, 1,000% we would have made more doing something like that. Like, I'm talking like first couple of years. Now as we get into year 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if we do everything right, like, this will be $1 billion ecosystem because of the scale we're talking. And we wouldn't be able to do that if we had have gone chasing money or selling a course from like day one. So yeah, hopefully we have started and we'll continue to reap the rewards of that core philosophy.
For you personally, how do you balance that though? Because for Simon, it's quite easy to go, all right, I can do a 10-year play because I sold my company for millions. So, but from you going, okay, I'm basically living off of my student loan. I've got a small company starting. You don't have the same luxury. So like, how have you been able to deal with that of going, okay, I've got this mission, this vision, and I know it's going to play out for me long term, but like, how do I survive and live in the short term?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and there's a few layers to it. Like, I think firstly, one of the most important things to know is, if you really want to build something big anyway, like, you probably shouldn't be taking loads of money personally. You should be reinvesting it into growth, or into the next thing, or into hiring people, or whatever it is. Like, if you look at any of the biggest, most successful CEOs, they're not, especially in the early days, the first however many years, they're not taking big fat pay packets. And I think in the sort of modern space where people fantasize over, whether it's like coaching or consulting or agency or whatever, and like big cash flow is available, I think a lot of people take way too much. But then if you look at them, that's probably why they then get distracted and fall off and don't ever go and do anything huge. But I think firstly, it's a genuine belief that if you want to do something big, you need to just be focused on it and go all in anyway, which is exactly how Simon had built his previous businesses, which is why it's an important point of like, sure, Simon now it doesn't necessarily have to worry about money. But firstly, Simon hasn't put a load of his money into this business. Like, we've bootstrapped it. We got some, we brought in some close friends and family investors for Help Bank, like strategically. For the media, we built slowly, and reinvested the profit that we made from like the early brand deals into the team. Like Simon wasn't funding it, so we've built it this way on purpose. And yeah, I think any founder really should ideally just keep their costs down and focus on building the thing that actually has value, because you're not going to get rich off monthly income unless your monthly income is, I don't know, millions. Like you're not really going to get rich off that. And if that's what you're thinking about, like people get rich off equity, and making the value of your company higher and higher and higher, like that's the important thing. So our philosophy and my philosophy is like, take as much as you need to live a life. Like you don't want people worrying about living because you want to be able to focus on your business, but you don't want to be taking too much that you're then distracted from the work. So that's pretty much how like I and we and all of us think about it, is like we're trying to create something genuinely really valuable, and you know the each individual's equity in that is the valuable piece if we get it right. So it's like, okay, until then, and I know that if we get everything right, if the financial needs are met that way, until then, it's like, let's make enough to sustainably live, cover our costs, and just focus on doing what we love, which is this, and keep growing it. And then, of course, when there's big amounts of profits, then we reinvest into funding dreams, we reinvest into the business, and then we also reinvest to paying the team well and properly. But you want to do it that way, in my opinion, rather than like focusing on a salary. I think that's a trap that a lot of people, whether it's employees or business owners, fall into. And it's a dangerous one because it stops you thinking for the long term.
What was your blueprint when you first started? Because you've got HelpBank now, you've got the brands, you know, potentially products and whatever coming down the pipeline. But what was 3-4 years ago when it's just the three of you? What was the blueprint that you was aiming for?
Yeah, good question. Blueprint in terms of like other people that were doing it, or like what do you mean?
What was the plan for you guys? If when you were initially deciding that this is what you wanted to build and you had your vision of changing the education system, how did you plan on going about it? Obviously, I'm sure it's changed over the years.
Yeah. I guess we didn't really have a specific plan. It was more, we knew that reach would be at the core of the whole thing, because you know, they say like attention is the new oil. I think it's very true. Like if you like you said 9 in 10 people in the West know who Simon is. That's probably generous, but a lot of people know who Simon is. So like being able to have that reach, the reach of like, you know, bigger than the BBC, for example, without having to, you know, invest millions and millions and millions in it, is an absolute superpower. And you know, there's a lot of like brainwashing that goes on negatively for people through the media, through reach. So like trying to also fight that and just like share positivity and inspiration with the world, like that, we always knew that would be the biggest part of what we do, because people can't ignore it. Like say if you want to fix the education system, you go in and tell them to change. It's been that way for 100 years, right? So that's not really going to work. But if you create something so big, or a movement so big that it can't be ignored, you can then create like a parallel one, you know, with what you have built. So that was always the goal from the start. From there, I think we've been flexible on the specifics. You know, HelpBank made sense because we needed a scalable version of Simon couldn't answer everyone's questions. So, you know, we needed somewhere where people could ask each other questions and get the help they need. That's why HelpBank was born. You know, like physical products, you know, the thesis behind that is like people are scrolling their phone and they'll see a video and get inspired. You know, they'll turn on the TV and they'll see a show we've made or Simon's featured in and get inspired that way. But then if they walk into a supermarket, for example, again, they're seeing a lot of like brands owned by the biggest companies in the world, but nothing is like, you know, really inspiring them or waking them up in that moment. So it's like, okay, we want to be in there, waking those people up and inspiring them, you know, when they're, you know, buying a drink or buying their food or whatever it is. And so that thesis we've kind of developed over time of like wherever people are interacting, we want to remind them of their dream and you know, somehow help them either be inspired and go for it or get the help they need to then go and build it. And that thesis we kind of built over time.
For people who don't know, what is HelpBank?
It's a platform where people can go and get the help they need for free to grow their business. And we also, from like the individuals in there on the community, and it's also the place where people can get a step-by-step blueprint for whatever business that they're starting to grow it as well. We have a feature called My Journey. You put in like an idea or a dream or like whatever business you're thinking of starting, and then it helps tailor you the steps to get started. And to be honest with you, we're actually working out what it is, because it was, like I said, it was born out of that we want to give people help at scale. But like competing with LinkedIn or anything like that is quite an ambitious goal. So what we do really well is like the community. It's so loyal and people really do help each other, whether it's on the platform or off the platform. Like the community around Help Bank or the Doorbell of Dreams, people can pitch their idea and it goes up on the platform and people help each other that way. The community is really loyal. So then what we do is we build the tech that we think the community need, or the community tell us they need to actually get that help. So what it is today is people helping each other and people getting help from the platform to grow their business. What it will be in the future may and will change as we're able to like invest more as the community grows into like what they specifically need.
What are like the main challenges that people ask for? Like, is it just like 2 or 3 recurring business problems that everyone seems to have?
Yeah. 3 initial ones that really come to mind. First one being like content. A lot of people know they want to be doing content or see Simon's content and really struggle with like how to get started. That's a big one, and that's probably because of the type of thing we do. That's why we get so many questions like that. Another massive one is funding. Everyone needs funding or says they need funding to start their thing. And that's why we're building systems like the Help Bank Starter Kit, where if you sign up to it, you sign up to a couple of our recommended partners, we give you £150 to kind of get you going, give you a mentorship call. And in the future, we want to find a way to fund people, whether it's a few £100 or a few £1,000, like at scale to grow your thing. And funding definitely is a big thing. And also a lot of people don't actually need the funding as well. They just need the right education to build it. But everyone asks about funding.
Just breaking away from the episode quickly, because I have a question for you, Kane.
Okay.
What is your favourite thing in the world?
I can't say that on air.
Second favourite thing in the world?
Also can't say that on air.
Third?
Doing this podcast.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm really, really glad. But what is your least favourite thing about doing this podcast?
Production, editing.
Well, look, if you look at any of the top podcasters in the world, your Joe Rogans, your Stephen Bartlett, your Chris Williamsons, any of these guys, they all have videographers, they have studios, they have people doing their copy, they probably have people polishing their shoes in the background, right? There is a tool, Riverside.fm, which can do all of those things except polishing the shoes at an extremely high standard without the cost. It is the best video quality for any form of virtual recording. It also has AI tools to help you with things like show notes, titles, and even clipping up your episode into social media clips.
What's unbelievable is when you actually do the interview, whilst you're in the interview, it's already running. So as soon as you're finished, the social media clips are ready. You've got a transcript ready. You've got your titles done. And now it's a hosting site. So you can upload to Apple and Spotify directly from Riverside. So you only actually need one subscription to have a podcast.
That's a seriously good software, if you ask me. There is a link in the description. You'll get yourself 15% off, or you can just try it for free. And I'm even going to put a funky QR code on the screen.
You're going to.
Do you know why? Because I'm saving time on all the other stuff because I've got Riverside.fm.
Well, back to the episode.
Those are 2 of the main things.
It feels like most of the what are your dream videos go that way. It's like, so what do you need to start your business? I need loads of money. It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
You need a following.
Yeah. It's a really interesting point because, like I said, most of the time people probably don't need money, like especially if it's a service business or anything like that. Or if they want to start a complicated business, they maybe be better off starting off in service, learning the fundamentals, which doesn't cost money. So that's definitely a huge part of it. Like education solves a big amount of it. But at the same time, a lot of people just need a bit of breathing room to like stop working their job for a little bit, or be able to take that leap, or whatever it is. Like a few £1,000 would really help a lot of people, even if it's not they don't need it to buy, I don't know, stock or anything like that, just to give them the breathing room. It's definitely a really important piece, because when people are in like fight or flight, they really struggle to like think clearly. So that's why over time we're trying to kind of solve both those things, like create a system for funding to be available for people at scale, which we're working on, and also give them the education to show why they might not necessarily need funding if they do X, Y, and Z, for example.
Well, I was going to ask, when in this journey, you say about 4 years in at the moment, really? Yeah. What pivotal moments have there been? What moments have there been where the needle's really moved? Things have changed, where brand deals have started coming massively into whatever it is, which has really accelerated the journey. There must be a handful of moments which have gone, things are changing now?
Yeah. There's been a few, honestly. It's mostly been steady compounding, where like people don't realize how consistent you have to be with content. Like we haven't missed a day of posting in I don't know how many years. Like we post every single day, multiple times a day, a lot of the time. So because of that, like the compounding just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. To the point where we reaching hundreds of millions of views a month, and then so there'll be certain like bangers that'll, I don't know, maybe X video does 30, 40, 50 million views, whereas the average might do 1, 2, or 3, and then that video might drive forward the following by another 100, 200, or 300k. Like I remember when I think Simon had about 400k ish on Instagram. We had this one video blow up that I think did 45 million views on Instagram. I can't remember what it did on TikTok, and we got hundreds of thousands of followers from that one video, which at the time, considering we had less than 1 million followers, like was huge. So there's a few moments like that, just like big banger clips. The YouTube video, like I said, that like 15 million views on a business video was insane. Like that was definitely a huge moment. A, for the YouTube channel, and B, like I said, for the respect that it kind of got. Like Simon
really forced the purpose.
Exactly. Like Simon was already known as the What's Your Dream guy, which was cool, but he wasn't known by the masses as like a business guy yet either. So that level of notoriety, but also respect that brought was definitely big. Yeah, those are probably the big moments, to be honest. And there's been like 1,000 more along the way, like, you know, our partnership with Virgin and Richard Branson, or launching Simon's book as a Sunday Times #1 bestseller, winning $1 million in here in Dubai last year. Like all those 3 things I just mentioned happened like within a week as well. So that was like a big
Nice.
that was a big week, big, like very lucky launch week, but yeah, that was a big week. There's been a load of small moments like that, and most of it is just that compounding over time.
As you'd expect, it seems like it's all been focused around content. Everything big that's happened has been somewhat related to content, right? So through all the content you've done over this time, and some videos which are more viewed than people could ever imagine, and I'm sure some that at the other end of the scale that you think, why has that not done well? What lessons have you learned about content which you implement, which isn't the generic advice everyone gives?
Now, Tell me the generic advice and I won't say it.
So there's 2 things that we ban on the show,
right,
which is consistency and authenticity.
Okay.
Because we all know you need to be consistently authentic, right? But what little things have you picked up? Maybe that's only works for Simon and because of the purpose and because of the style. But what little things have you picked up in the content you guys create that is an indication something's going to do really well?
Yeah, so I think there's 2 things. Yeah. Let me give you a couple of... There's a load. Let me give you a couple that most people don't talk about. So the first one, and we only learnt this in the last like year or so, is international reach. Thinking about international reach early, honestly, is huge. We do like 80 to 150 million views a month just from our non-English pages. So we have 1.1 or 2 million followers on our Arabic page. We have 500,000 followers on our Spanish page. We have a couple of 100,000 on the Chinese page. Like getting such a big reach for a non-English following honestly has been huge. Like Simon's book was a bestseller in Korea. Who would have thought that? And a lot of creators don't think about this, or think about it like really late, or hire an agency to like dub and do it kind of inauthentically, and it doesn't really work. So for us, like one of the big plays has been that, like launching internationally, because people have dreams worldwide, right? Like people.
So this comes down to the purpose, right? Because most people wouldn't even bother thinking about that, but because you're so, we want to affect the whole world.
Exactly.
It's an early thought.
Exactly, and sure, certain markets are more valuable than others in terms of like how much an advertiser will pay, or how many products you're going to sell there. But yeah, that honestly has been huge to reach and inspire more people. I won't say purpose because it is the obvious one and it's quite similar to authenticity, but purpose is kind of the base fundamental. If you don't know why you're making content, it's going to be hard to keep going. You might as well not make it, in my opinion. So that's like a given. But then, yeah, being able to think really big, for example, and make your content not just in English but also in other languages to get that worldwide reach, like that was really really huge for us. The other main thing is it's not just about one person. And again, this is where Simon differs to pretty much every other like business influencer. Is, for example, a business influencer talking to camera. There's only a certain amount of times you can say the same thing in different ways. Like even Simon, when he's doing like the business knowledge videos, you know, like the 2 hour 26 one. After we did that and a few others, Simon's like, I haven't got that much more to say. Do you know what I mean? Like I've given it all, and we don't want to force it and keep recycling is like different ways of saying the same thing over and over again. So the beautiful thing about our content is that it's about other people. It's about the dreamers in the video. So we can create endless content because there's literally billions of people on the planet that have a dream. So every day Simon can go out and, you know, and hear this dream, that dream, help them in this way, that way. And that keeps the content so fresh and engaging. And to your point of like filming a video and thinking, wow, that was a banger. Like it comes from that uncertainty of this person was a total stranger 5 minutes ago, and then literally within like 2 minutes, you know, they've had a realization within their, you know, they're feeling certain about going for their business now. Often they get emotional. People haven't asked this question before. They feel heard, and the audience on the other end of the screen relate to those people, and they get behind those people, and they want to see them win. So I think, yeah, if I have to give like 2 big points, that's probably the other big one is like find a way for it to be bigger than you, and ideally long term not to rely on you. For us, it's like focusing on the dreamers, not just like one guy's advice.
Tactically, that makes a lot of sense because there might be people that look at Simon and don't relate to him at all. So it's like every single day you can see on his channel, you've got like the hero's journey of like somebody that might be my age, my background, my ethnicity, my whatever, that you can buy into those.
Exactly.
Do you think there's a future where there'll be other people asking the questions? Because you said doesn't rely on him. And I think would you agree at the moment the whole brand is Simon Squibb's face? It does rely on him, but is your vision to make it beyond Simon where there's a lot more people involved and it's a brand beyond just the creator?
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I think we're in a nice position compared to most because it focuses on the dreamers, but definitely long term, you know, hopefully there are like thousands of people that align with the same mission, creating the same sort of content. And even if it doesn't funnel back to our businesses or our products, it achieves the same mission of like, you know, making the world a better place. So in that regard, definitely. But when it comes to like our specific brands as well, you know, Simon says if he dies, he wants us to change the channels to Dream, and just do it that way, and you know, have someone else host it or have AI him host it or whatever it is. Like he doesn't want to be at the center of it for forever anyway. In that regard, like he wants it to be able to live beyond him because he knows he can't live forever. Despite the fact that he really loves doing it and probably won't stop unless he's forced to stop. But then each business has to live by itself as well. And that's why it's really important to us that like each business is its own brand, creates its own content, stands for it. And whether it's other creators making content about it or, you know, the team build up their personal brands or people who, like I said, people who just like it get involved. Like it's really important. It continually becomes a movement, and the brands speak for themselves, and you know, and other creators talk about the same mission. Like that is really, really important for us. And like, you know, building Simon to the point that he's at now is like an amazing step one. And we'll keep growing that, but everything else has to basically catch up as well, so that there's lots of things at that sort of level.
Can we talk about the money then? So how do each of the businesses make money?
Good question. We don't sell courses. So that's how we don't make money. The main revenue models are, I mean, there's a few. The main one is obviously sponsorship. You know, we're lucky to have built one of the biggest business brands in the world, but like definitely in the UK. So, you know, big brands pay to sponsor the content that we do, which is super aligned with us because, for example, like, let's say someone wants to start a business and needs to make a brand, you know, we don't have the tool to give that to them, but Adobe do, for example. So like us working with Adobe is super authentic. And, you know, as part of the last campaign we did with them, they gave us money to give away to the dreamers, and like, you know, it's a all boats rise kind of campaign. So brand deals is one of the biggest. Affiliate as well is also very large because again, we can't make all the tools for people to start their own business. Over time we'll make some. We'll have our own businesses, but we can't do everything. So recommending people the tools that work for us and we think will work with them, and then the tools paying us for doing so, like that. As our audience and database grows, that becomes a continually stronger revenue source, a lot more than people realize. If you do it really well, like growing your database as early on as you can, in it as cleanly as you can, is stupidly valuable. You can get banned from any platform, but they have a job to take away like your email database from you, right? So yeah, that's a big one. And then of course the big one then after that is your own products, and that's basically what like we're starting to move into this year.
When we spoke to Simon, when we all spoke the other day, he was saying about the investment opportunities as well. Like as a creator, someone who has attention, you said yourself, attention is oil. With the attention, the opportunities you get to invest in some of these companies are way better than a traditional investor would, because you can provide the value in terms of attention, right? Is that a big part of the future revenue model as well?
Yes, it is, but I hesitate because there's only a certain amount of ways that you can diversify your attention, right? So we do a lot less like investments or new business ventures than people think, because we're so focused on what we're actually building, on building Help Bank, on building Simon brand, and building the brands that we're going to launch ourselves. Like that takes up pretty much all of our time and energy. And people always say to Simon, "Oh, you must have this and that going on. You must have this business, that business, this investment over there." He's like, "No, I do this." Like Simon just does this. So for the most part, we're very focused on what we do. However, to your point and to my point earlier of like we can't build everything, we can't do everything ourselves. We do invest in like bigger companies that align with our values and can help people be free and follow their dream. We do select a very small handful of those to invest in, to grow with them. It's kind of like the next stage to a typical sponsorship deal, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're aligned for the long term, rather than just for like the period of the campaign. So for example, Stan and Lovable, like we love what these guys are doing. So we're don't just take like a paycheck from them. We also like get in with them for the long run, because they're helping creators or builders do their own thing. That's something that we also align with. So we do those sort of deals as well. Yeah.
So do you reckon you only got the investment with Lovable because of the following?
It definitely helps.
Yeah.
It definitely helps. I mean, a company like Lovable, they're oversubscribed in terms of like people trying to get in. So yeah, definitely it really, really helps.
It's like a separate door, special door.
Yeah.
Special
20 million follower door.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I know you're not able to share all the specifics of brand deals that are done and anything ongoing. Are you able to share the biggest brand deal that never happened? What was the largest amount of money that you guys were offered but turned down because it didn't align?
Yeah. I mean, the obvious one is crypto platforms. Like there's been a couple of times where like we've been offered like a really serious amount of money, even in the early days when we weren't making that much money, to do like just a couple of posts like promoting crypto or promoting a crypto exchange or whatever.
Were they genuine big crypto companies, or were they like unheard of ones that were trying to
a bit of both, a couple of both, but like we've had the big ones and we've had the small ones, and for us it's just like our message is you should invest in things that you control in your own thing, and you just can't control crypto. So like it would be really inauthentic for us, and trading platforms as well. It would be really inauthentic for us to say, go and use our code and get X credits on X trading platform or X crypto platform, because ultimately that's not the message that we believe in. And although like crypto probably is the future, we believe that we will build into crypto over the long term. Like it's not going away, but recommending our audience to just go and spend their money on it and not control it and however many people lose it, like that would be so inauthentic to us. So yeah, there's been like big big numbers we've turned down over the years from companies like that, because your reputation is all you have. Money comes and goes, people come and go, but like your reputation sticks. And that's not something that you want to mess up, both with people you know in the real world or your audience that you build. Like you really got to try and keep that intact.
Short-sighted, right? Are you able to share how much the biggest one was?
I actually can't remember, but I do remember very clearly that in the early days we were offered like 50 grand for one post, and bear in mind our audience was maybe touching around 1 million at that time. So like that was very big, especially considering how we were building. Like I said, Simon wasn't pouring money in. Like we were, you know, like really trying to convince brands to pay us, I don't know, like let's say 10 grand a post or like whatever it was. Like it definitely made us think, but very quickly can conclude that like, although it's a big amount of money for low effort, like
You've got to think now as well, you're 20 times the size of that.
we can't do that to ourselves or to our audience. And again, you know, like I would like to think I would have turned it down either way. But you know, with Simon's long-term reputation and experience in business, like he's got to where he is by doing the right thing by people and by, you know, like his network that he's built. So yeah, like you couldn't pay him any amount to go against that.
Can't have compounding with no longevity, can you?
No.
Okay, so I'm really intrigued. What's been your favorite collaboration? Because the sort of whiteboard long form content, you've had all sorts of people on. Who's been your favorite person?
They were such good questions, but they're such tricky ones at the same time.
That's the point.
I'll try and give you an answer, but first I'm going to give you a slight boycott answer. I'm going to give you a time. There was a trip that we did where we went to the US and we just started doing the whiteboard content. And so we went out to the US and we filmed with like everyone we could out there in this one trip. So I think we did like Cody Sanchez, Alex Hormozy, Patrick Bet-David, Jordan Welch. There was more as well, and it was like this, like I can't remember how long it was, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks, where we went to Miami, we flew over to LA, we drove to Vegas. Graham Stephan, and that time was so fun because we were like starting to see more scale in the content that we were making and on the YouTube channel. But again, like being able to connect with these people, bring them some value, and then also, you know, spend some time with them. Like I remember like Hormozy gave us a couple of hours of his time after we finished shooting, just like showed us around his gym, chatting and things like that. And that was an insanely fun period of time, and was huge for like growing our network as well. If I have to pick one specific individual, I'm going to go with Richard Branson. Firstly, because which is the weirdest coincidence in the world, I met him on a flight, which is how I was able to pitch to him.
Nice. Couldn't go anywhere.
So that's like one of those big life moments for me. It was like randomly was on a flight with Richard, was able to pitch to him what we're doing, and the idea of collaborating, and he said yes, and then not just said yes, replied to me after I emailed him, you know, the next day and connected me with the team, and everything we said we'd do on the flight we ended up making happen, from having him on the YouTube channel to launching the Doorbell of Dreams in his hotels in like London and New York. So yeah, I'm going to go with him, and obviously, you know, he's like an entrepreneurial hero as well, like especially for British people. Like he's an example of thinking so big people think you're crazy, and then pulling it off. So yeah.
I've seen some stories around his first plane, the first flight or something. It was just like an absolute punt. I think the guy sold seats before he had a plane or something along those lines. You're like, you know what? I respect it.
Yeah, he had a flight that was cancelled. Like, a flight was cancelled, and so then he rang and like chartered a plane instead, and that was like, yeah, that was how I was born.
So your favorite billionaire's favorite billionaire.
Yeah.
All right. To finish off, I want to do some agree or disagrees.
All right.
So give us your opinion, and then any other words you got, welcome. Sure. Agree or disagree? People say reach and views are vanity.
Disagree. Followers is vanity, because you can have 20 million followers and be getting no views on on your content, that is vanity. Reach and views, like I said, it's literal currency. People are hearing your message, seeing your message. Like it's everything. Of course, if you're talking about something irrelevant, then like I guess your reach is going to go to waste. But if you answer step one that we spoke about earlier, which is like having a purpose and knowing why you're making the content, like getting reach on content that aligns with your purpose is, I mean, it's almost everything.
Okay. It's a better business model to give everything away for free.
True, with nuance. Not everything can be free for everyone. For example, like we charge brands, for example. LinkedIn charges people for Sales Navigator. X charges people for premium or whatever it's called. But agree to the fundamental, like if you want to create something huge, then it has to sit in free in some regard. You can't gatekeep it. The biggest social media platforms or ChatGPT or like whatever it is, you're always going to have to build revenue models in for whoever it is, but there has to be a accessible free element to it for like the 99% of people. Otherwise you're creating like a niche small thing. And again, if that's what you're building, fine. Of course, like if you're building a service company, you can't necessarily do it for free. I mean, you could, because you could create content about it and get the content sponsored, but you know what I mean? If you're trying to build big, like 100%, that you're going to be able to build a lot bigger if you find other ways to monetize while your mass appeal, your mass reach is for free for people.
And if you're trying to go super big, odds are you're not mega niche. Like if you're really niche, it's a bit different. But if you're trying to build a business brand or a sales brand or a marketing brand, odds are one of the best people in the world at doing that is probably already making the content for free and putting it out there, like a Hormozy in sales or like a Simon with business. And if these people are already one way better than you, whoever you are, to be honest, and giving it all away for free, what makes you think you're going to be able to give your advice away and charge for it when it's probably what you've learned from their free content?
Yeah.
Agree or disagree? If you're not getting hate, you're not reaching enough people yet.
Agree. Hate is just inevitable, right? Like we're not wired as humans to get feedback from millions of people, but just the odds are, if you are lucky enough to get feedback from millions of people because you have reach, like people aren't going to like you. And sure, for some people, more people dislike you than for other people, but like you could literally be a saint and still have people not like you. So yeah, I agree.
You have to have a mission in order to be successful.
It depends what your idea of success is. So I would say agree by my definition of success, which is, having an impact, having fun, being a good like son, dad in the future, boyfriend, and then of course like financial as well. Agree by those metrics. But I mean, if your definition of success is just money, like I said earlier, you can make money in a lot of different ways.
Crypto sponsorship.
Yeah, you can make money in a lot of different ways. And there are a lot of people without missions that do make money. So,
final one. Everyone should have a business.
Agree with the expansion of everyone should be able to have a business, and everyone like should and could have that experience of being an entrepreneur in some regard. And this is something that Naval talks about that we align with really heavily, is like, as the world gets more advanced, AI takes people's jobs, or we get universal basic income, whatever it is, like people need something to do. People need a purpose, they need something, and a business is such a good like sustainable way of doing whatever it is that you want to do. And we see like the gig economy getting bigger, like whatever your skill is, even I don't know, let's say like an electrician or like whatever it is, they might be able to just pick up jobs here and there like you do with Uber Eats or anything like that. Everyone should, in my opinion, get the education skills they need to be able to manage their own time, do their own thing, start their own business, even if it's just like a one-person business, and then they can decide whether they do or don't do it. but everyone deserves the chance to be free. And so that's the world that we're trying to create.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, mate.
Thanks, guys.